everybody? It's your boy Derf with Desire to Inspire. Got my boy.
Hi, I'm Dylan.
Got my boy Dylan. Dylan, I have a question for you. It's one that I've been thinking a lot. When you look in the mirror, see yourself, what do you think?
Is this the one you said was about to get deep? Because that could get deep. I'm trying to think of like a way to phrase it that makes sense. When I look in the mirror, it sounds bad because I think beat that dude's ass. Like that's what I think is like I want to beat who I'm looking at in the mirror. Because at the end of the day, that's my only competition. Like I'm not out here trying to outperform anybody as long as I'm like outperforming myself day after day. So when I look in the mirror, that's kind of the approach I take is like, oh, you ain't shit. I'm about to be better than you by the end of the day.
That's awesome. What did it take you to get there? Because I feel like when a lot of people here, it can go one of two ways. What did it take for you to get to that point?
To the lot. I think that for a very long time, I was the complete opposite of that, which was like, I didn't care about personal development or getting better. It was just like, I was kind of going through the motions. And I feel like when I looked in the mirror then, I didn't like what I saw. And then eventually something clicked like, okay, if you don't like what you see, you're the only one who can change it. So for a long time, like I was in like, I don't want to say a depressed place because I don't think I've ever actually dealt with like actual depression. So I don't like to say like, I don't like to put this thing on it that's actually not there. But I was definitely in a dark place for a long time and I was coping with it in ways that I definitely should have been. I was drinking like crazy, hooking up like crazy. And it just kind of became my personality to an extent where like, that's what people knew me as. And you probably knew me as that at some point. Mm-hmm. And so like, eventually, like, I was just like, this isn't who I am at my core. And I knew it even when I was in that stage. So at some point I just got sick of looking at that version of myself in the mirror and knew that I had to make some kind of change.
I love that. Yeah. Cause I feel like, I know for myself, that when I look in the mirror now, I definitely see someone a lot more confident. I see somebody a lot more powerful. I see somebody who has a purpose, a dream, vision, but I can tell you that it's not always been like that. And I can say that even from up until a year and a half ago, I didn't see that. And I was filled with this narrative of all of the people around me that loved me, supported me, hated me, whatever it was, that I was this person to them, I was that person to them. And I had all of these great attributes that they all saw in me. And then there was a lot that other people would like get on me about that I could have changed or this or that. And I take it back, and I had a gym coach, Mr. Serrata in high school, who's no longer with us anymore. But the man was a class act, top person, somebody I looked up to. I transferred to Clearview. That's where I went to high school. And I was surrounded by a lot of different people because I came from a school, or I didn't grow up there. I didn't go to the elementary school there or not.
I never did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Clearview my freshman year and then obviously graduated from there. But when I went there, met a lot of amazing people, a lot of different personalities than the school I was at, a lot of different drives, a lot of different ambitions when it came to like sports or just day-to-day living. But I'll never forget when Mr. Serrata pulled me aside in one of the classes and he was like, I'm going to tell you something and I want you to listen to me. And I was like, all right. Pulled me aside and he was like, everybody loves you for who you are. He was like, and I can see yourself changing to try and fit into certain crowds, to try and fit in with different people. He was like, and that's not the people Freddie, or that's not the person that people like when they see Freddie or they talk about Freddie or they see Freddie. He's like, you need to change your act up right now. He's like, or you're going to lose what you have going for you. And he's like, and I know it's hard because there's one of you and many of other people. And so I was like, oh my God. And so that was the start where I started to take in what people were saying about me in a good and bad way to try and form a narrative of like what direction to go in life. But I wouldn't say it was till like I was saying a year ago, when I went through this like really dark tunnel that I finally like was able to look at myself in the mirror and be like, you know what, you are this, you are that, you can reach these dreams, you can do these things. Like all of the stuff that people are saying are life lessons to either motivate me in the right direction to keep moving or to veer past to go down a different lane. And I think it's so sad because now I look at the person in the mirror and I see minor tweaks that I want to do because I feel like I'm very aware. I started meditating. You got me starting to read more. But that was something my dad always wanted me to do, was read more. And so it like educates you in different ways to like get out of your comfort zone. But looking at myself, I now see the purpose of why I was put on this earth and like the vision that I have. But it took me 26 years to get there, to believe the people and what they were saying, to believe in my own head and my own beliefs that like what they were saying was actual, tangible, real things about me. But it just took a lot to get to that point. So I don't know, because again, I think this could go on a while. We both have like crazy good stories that got us to where we are today. But what would you say would be the top 3 things that you realized you had to focus on to turn into that person that wants to beat you every day?
I think that one of them is something you touched on in the very beginning. You said that when you look in the mirror, you see someone who's very confident. I think confidence is key to most things. But even like if you think about like the cockiest or the most confident person you can think of, I don't think any of them are naturally that way. I think that confidence is something that's built over time. And it's like a very hard discipline to come by. Like, sure, there's like a natural confidence in some people, but at the end of the day, I think like inside, they're very insecure, which I think is where you were at, whereas like outwardly you put off this certain way, but in your head, you feel like someone else. So I think confidence is one for me. I think 2, honestly, it was like learning how detrimental my relationship with not even just alcohol, but food was. I mean, there was a time where I was in college where I can remember I was drinking every day. Like, let's not leave that part out. Mm-hmm. But I went through a McDonald's drive-through every day for a month, dude. And I think that was a compound of a lot of things. Was like, I didn't have a lot of money. There wasn't a lot of options. So it was like, this is easy. But like, that is going to do the complete opposite of what I think is the key point, which is give you confidence. Like, that food's going to make you feel like shit. You're going to look like shit. And if you look and you feel like shit, chances are you're going to be pretty insecure and not confident at all. So I think those 2 are very big. And then I don't have like this epiphany like you do with this teacher where like someone told you. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it was the opposite, where it was that these things that are, when done in excess, viewed as negatives, became what I was known for. And where people knew if I was around, we're getting fucked up, we're going to have a good time. I was probably going to try to take some chick home. I was probably going to make an ass out of myself, try to fight somebody. Like, it was these negative things, and I saw them through them. And like, they weren't saying, oh, this is wrong, you need to stop doing this. It was actually the opposite. It's like, that's who you are. Like, just fucking keep doing it, like encouraging it and like trying to feed like this side of me. And so I think that seeing it through that perspective, I was like, okay, I need to chill, because like, this isn't who I want to be known for forever. Like, this is a stage in my life, and I realized wholeheartedly I put myself in that position. And I mean, I feel like I had to get to that position to be who I am now. Yep. But it was definitely not something that I wanted to be known as for the rest of my life. But going back to what you said, like, everyone has their own perception of you. There's always going to be somebody out there who, when they hear my name, that's who they think of. The same way that someone in high school hears my name, they probably think, oh, he was an asshole. Like, there's always going to be people from your past who have this perception of you that will never change. And I think it's important not to let that be tied up in your identity. Like, just because you were that person doesn't mean that's who you have to be, regardless of what anyone else thinks. At the end of the day, like, you can be whoever you want to be.
Yep. That's powerful. I mean, that honestly hits the nail on the head. And like you said, I think you used the word epiphany that I had when Mr. Strada told me that. Bro, at that time, I took what he said and I was just like, threw it over my shoulder. I was like, yeah, shit. It literally didn't hit me until, I don't know, man, like a year.
But it did subconsciously for you to remember that moment to a T. Like, subconsciously, you knew then that he was for real.
Yeah. And so I look back at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, there was such a powerful message in there. And even if I didn't realize that I was changing at that time, it clearly did something to me to make that change, that I didn't even realize that it was like happening. But yeah, I think that's key. And I think that we need to start like challenging people to look in the mirror and not be scared to write down a few things that they see about themselves, whether they're good or bad, because all of the things that were bothering you that you didn't look at yourself that as confident as you do right now, you had to start somewhere. And that was correcting your eating habits. All right. Saying that you weren't going to go out as much, although I think that took a little bit longer than the eating habits.
They were kind of, but when I drank, my eating habits were even worse. So they were fucking tied together.
Yeah. But I think that that's the challenge, is everybody needs to look in the mirror and realize that the good and bad that you look at yourself is, the good is what other people see in you, but the bad, you probably are way harder on yourself than what other people are actually portraying of you. But write that stuff down, so that way you can figure out, like, okay, how can I work on this? How can I check this off? How can I check that off? Next thing you know, you start looking at that person in the mirror and you're seeing different changes that you didn't even know those 3 or 5 things that you're working on were going to change or alter in your life.
Yeah. So I actually, it's kind of crazy, like this is a conversation happening. So before the new year started, I started journaling every day. So like I've been like really keeping track of like my thoughts, just because I feel like what we're doing is going to be like a pivotal moment in our lives, and I want to be able to look back and be like, here's like what I was feeling or thinking in the process.
Yep.
But in terms of like actually like writing down like how people perceive you and stuff, I don't remember where I heard this, but I was thinking about like hitting up the people closest to me and being like, what are some of my strengths? What are some of my weaknesses in your eyes? And then like, you don't have to identify with it, but the chances are if someone puts a weakness and 4 out of the 7 closest people to you all have that as a weakness, that's probably something you need to work on.
Yeah.
And then if people have the same consistent strengths, it's probably something you don't even think about because it's just who you are. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, so here's something I do very well. I think like if you can balance that, then you'll at least know like, here's some areas I need to kind of shift my focus on and pay more attention to because I'm failing the people closest to me in my life in these areas.
Yeah. That's huge. I mean, because a lot of the times you don't even see some of the changes that you need to make, or like where you're kind of veering off that path. And so like without that feedback, I mean, when are you going to find out? When it's too late? And
right. Because normally when you find out is when there's a huge blow up and they're like, well, here's the fucking problem. This is what you should have been doing then, blah, blah, blah. But if you're proactive about it, then it's like, first of all, they see that like you actually care enough to try to make a change. But it's also like before you push somebody, whether it's a relationship, a parent, a sibling, like whether you push somebody so far away for so long that it's just out of the possibility of being fixed.
Yeah. I don't know. Because that problem could lead to you losing relationships, losing jobs. I mean, you don't know where those things can stem from. And so that's why I can't wait till we have a conversation about like meditation and stuff like that, because I feel like meditating has really got me in that mental clarity zone where I can react to something before I react to it. And like my mind has control over things. And so I'll save all that for another time. But
how often do you meditate?
I try to do it at least 3 times a week. But if I can do it more, I do it more. I just like when I first started meditating, I was doing 5-6 days a week. And then you start to like learn the process and the way of thinking and the way of all of this. Cause everybody thinks that you need to go in there and be like, and you're doing like something weird, but like it really is like a mental workout. And so now since I know how to control thoughts, how I know how to control actions, I only do it 3 times a week. I'm not saying that's enough. That's just what I went down to. But I plan on picking it back up and like actually like reading about it to learn in depth about meditation. But it's just crazy the benefits it has from a mental perspective when it comes to like controlling your actions and stuff and being able to like react before anybody even knows that you were thinking about reacting, whether it's a positive or negative way. And I think it stems from personal relationships to whether you're dating somebody, to family, to even like at work when you're dealing with customers or something like that. It's wild. I don't know how to explain it, but I know that I'm going to get into it more so that way I can help other people see the benefits of it. But I think that all is a process of looking in the mirror and being able to like look at yourself and be happy with the person that you're looking at, but also at the same time have that drive that like, I'm still going to beat you. There's still more that I have to figure out about.
Yeah, I always got more to give.
Yeah. And I mean, the world, the options are endless. It's just where are you going to stop and where are you going to draw the line because you stop believing in yourself. And then that's when you got to reevaluate again, write down more goals. All right, now I'm going to get past you again. And always keep looking back at yourself like, yeah, you're going to catch up this time. When he knocks you down, what are you going to do? Get back up? Oh no, did I lose you?
No, your screen just went off for like a second.
Okay. But yeah, and then looking back and being like, are you going to catch me? And if he knocks you down, then just realizing that you got to get back up and fight the same person that you see first thing every single morning. That's yourself. But
yeah, I mean, that's a key point. It's the daily battle. Like, it's every single day you got to go to war with yourself.
And don't ever stop. And that's what people think is it's same thing with going in the gym or with mental, like the physical and mental aspect, is it never ends. And so you always have to keep up with it. You always have to talk about it. You always have to work towards it. Because as life goes on, and as we all know, there's good times, there's bad times. And how are you going to fight through all of those to learn a lesson to make you stronger and better? Because it's easy to get in a slump. And so my challenge to everybody is figure out what those 3 things are that you hate or dislike about yourself. I wouldn't say hate. You shouldn't hate anything about yourself, but you dislike about yourself that you want to change, and then come up with a plan on how to make the necessary actions in order to get around those little hurdles that you're facing right now.
Yep. It's literally just small daily habits compounded over time.
Yeah. So as the followers know, as the listeners know, as the viewers know, all we want you to do, subscribe to DTI, follow our platform. If you want to, you can find our personal social medias through that. But really, we want to grow this to be something big, build a family, a community where we can talk about real conversations. And as I always say, take the filters off of life, because we live in a world that's filled with filters and social media. So take the filters off, enjoy life, and always have the desire to inspire, baby.